But again, one last question. Please sign up for the phone Oh, yeah, sure. I have one thing, but I just want to add this. I don't think people really doesn't realize that we are the strongest city in the United States. However, where Philadelphia goes in local elections, state elections, and a federal election. So, she said at night, I'm just going to answer. You got to get out and vote. You cannot go out and phone bank. You cannot phone bank. You tell your mom, your daddy, your brother, your church family, everybody. Because Philadelphia does not come out. There's no right way.
Pennsylvania goes Trump, the White House goes Trump. Pennsylvania has to be Democratic if we're going to keep this democracy safe. And everyone knows Philadelphia is the birthplace of liberty and freedom, and the birthplace of this country, and the birthplace of modern democracy as we know it. We cannot have that game show back in that whole country. I tell every vote counts. Have a plan. Vote. Get a friend with us. Vote Democratic. Vote Biden. Get us back in the White House. Keep this country safe for the next 100 years. All we did, but we'll have a safe country for our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. So don't forget, try to talk to people who disrespect. Tell them, look, you remember that chaos in 2019? 22 right out of the Muslim man went on a box. Supposed to ban all Muslims in this country. Still ban anybody in this country. This country is the birthplace of liberty, and it belongs to everybody. If we let that game show back, who knows what will happen?
Exactly, and that is why it's time for this right now. CNN. How many people, by a round of applause, hate CNN? It stands for the Corrupt News Network. That's what it is. Actually, maybe we should call it the Clinton News Network. Their ratings are way down, they're lower than Harvey Weinstein's support, that I can tell you. And that's what we know. She's happy, but she knows it's true, right? That's another theory, but it's true, right? We don't like CNN because they used to bring on, remember Governor Cuomo, they used to bring in on, he's a pervert, right, ladies? He's a total pervert. You know, Governor Cuomo was here, but Biden likes to stick them, right? He likes to stick the women. Governor Cuomo likes to hug the women and hold on to them for like 35 minutes or so. Now, a normal hug, think of it, right? A normal hug, you hug someone just like 2 seconds, you know, quick hug, you let go. When he does it, Cuomo, he hugs you for like 10, 15 minutes, pushes up against your wife, your girlfriend. He has touched more women than a Hallmark channel, I can tell you that. You find out a week later you're pregnant, it's terrible, it's a horrible person. There's another one, ABC. How many people hate ABC? Round of applause. ABC stands for all the communists. That's what it stands for, all the communists. How about NBC? How many people hate NBC? Round of applause. NBC, what I call it, stands for nothing but crap. Nothing but crap. There's only one network I like, I think you know what it is. The other network is my favorite network. Newsmax are very close. Actually, that is my favorite. I have another favorite one. Yell it out. What do you think it is? What's that? You're close. It's actually the Playboy channel.
Anthony Archibald. I live in Haverford, Lower Marion Township, outside of Philadelphia, Montgomery County. I'm a registered Republican. I'm here to support Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States. Yes. Speak up. Okay, that's why I'm here to support the president, his re-election.
And what do you think? What is your prediction of what's going to happen in the debate tonight? What do you think President Biden has to do to convince the voter during this debate?
Well, I think President Biden needs to show the American people empathy and great compassion, and that he cares about the middle class, and show that he has genuine concern for those people that are struggling, who are on the margins, and who are in the middle, especially in the middle, because they could make a difference. And here in Pennsylvania, it's a swing state, so it's most critical that he wins this state, because if Pennsylvania goes to Biden, I'm pretty sure the White House will go to Biden. And we can't afford 4 more years of uncertainty and unknown, and basically chaos with Donald Trump. Does that work?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have you step right. Perfect. And then, so in the interview, you'll look at me, not the camera. I'm actually gonna have you take one more step forward. Sorry. Half one. Right there. Perfect. Kind of a side effect of working alone is like that I have to have people way closer.
No, of course.
All right. That's good right there. Double check that everything's running so I don't waste your time.
No. Don't worry, I'm here until like 9:30 every night anyway. I know, I'm so excited. Hello, how are you?
All right.
Yeah, I'm about to get interviewed. What can I say? Some people just say I have a face for it. I'm kidding.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'll hold it.
Oh, you'll hold it?
Yeah. You'll just look right at me. So first question is just, could I get you to say your first name, your last name? And can I ask what your relation to LULAC is?
Yeah, so I'm a policy and legislation fellow here at LULAC, just working for over the summer, and then I go back to school in August.
Awesome. And I always hate asking this question, but I do got to ask it. Could you let me know your age, or at least age range?
Yes, I'm 21.
21. So I think you qualify as a younger voter. So when you heard they were going to debate, is there anything you're looking for in particular, any particular topics to be talked about in this debate?
Yeah, definitely. So as a Latino, obviously immigration is a huge thing that I think is important and should be talked about, especially being here at LULAC. We've had several great sessions about immigration and the effect on the Latino community and what different presidential administrations could do to improve that. And then also personally, I do go to school in Lewiston, Maine, and obviously that tragic accident that happened, the shooting. And so gun control is definitely something that I'm passionate about and that I think should be addressed.
Gotcha. So I apologize, my math is bad, but it sounds like 21. Would you have voted for Trump, Biden?
So I actually missed that deadline by 1 month, unfortunately. And so this will actually be the first presidential debate that I'm voting in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So maybe you haven't seen a lot of debates in the past. Sounds like you're politically interested. Maybe you have.
I am, so I'm majoring in politics.
Oh. So this debate will be kind of different. Like, with no live audience, they're going to mute the mics. Expectation-wise, do you think it's still going to be kind of rowdy? Like, what are you expecting from the two different candidates?
So I will say I do think that both candidates are incredibly passionate, so I don't doubt that there is going to be a little bit of intense debating, I would say. But I think this is a great way to control it and make sure that everyone is staying on point and hitting the topics that we want them to be talking about.
Gotcha. Just trying to think. You got very solid answers. I'm just
No,
my
of
brain's
course.
not. Some of them listening, and I'm like, oh fuck, now I have a question. Well, you talked. So when it comes to immigration, one thing, well, not just immigration, but guns and kind of everything that I think of. One of the issues we've seen on both sides, but maybe one more than the other, is a lot of kind of misinformation during like political speeches and rallies. Are you concerned that could be this could give a good platform for either candidate to put out some information that isn't really accurate, but it's on a podium where it isn't really going to be pushed against necessarily?
So I definitely think misinformation is a huge issue in the U.S., especially, as I mentioned, I'm 21, I'm still in college. Social media is something that's really predominant in our lives. And so when I'm looking at media online, I do think that a presidential debate would be something that I would trust instantly, And so having something to not validate that information, if they are saying something on a platform that could be refuted but isn't, that's a little concerning to me as a viewer, and then would require something that I would have to do more research on afterwards.
Gotcha. Kind of my second to last question, but as a younger voter, is it on your mind that both of these candidates are kind of up there in years?
I mean, definitely, that's a concern for me, 100%. I do think it is not only the presidential candidate, but also who they surround themselves with. And so if they can surround themselves with people who are more relatable, who are more informed on what younger generations are interested in and are advocating for, then that could maybe compensate for some of their older ages.
I think, and that to be specific too, I was going to ask, does the vice president role play a more major element in this one than maybe younger candidates?
Yeah, I think 100% definitely it does. Seeing who they align themselves with is a huge part of how I decide which candidate I'm going to be voting for.
This is a question that you are totally welcome not to answer, but I'm going to ask it. Are you willing to say kind of which side you're leaning towards right now in the presidential debate?
Of course. I am a registered Democrat, so I would say I would vote for Biden as of this point in time. I do pride myself on being a little bit more of a moderate Democrat, and so in the sense that I will always listen to both sides and then make an informed decision rather than just voting based on party identification.
Right, so not one dots down one side.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for talking.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Did I? I was so nervous.
No, you're very cool. So who would you next? Yeah. So the only thing we're going to do a little bit differently is I'm going to stand on that side, and you'll look at me. With me standing on that side, you're going to see me looking at the camera way more than you than I like to, but it's just to make sure something doesn't crash and I don't waste everybody's time with something going terribly wrong, which this camera has done a few times. So I'm going to have you kind of cement your feet right there. That's a good spot. Yeah, no, I was in the middle of an interview with the guy that runs UFC. Who's like, politics aside, a very intense person. Like, not totally friendly in person, but not a guy I wanted to like screw up around. And as we're talking, my camera goes, and it killed all the video. And I happened to have another camera, and we got it. But ever since then, I'm like, that's why I'm like, I'll look at the camera all the time to see if it's done something. Cool. So yeah, like I said, you'll just look right at me.
Can you edit my videos out? Stop.
You guys are so ready for TV. Me, I just get in front of the camera for.
Because of this.
All right, perfect. So first thing, same thing. I'm just gonna have you say your first name, your last. Sorry, you reminded me of a question I forgot to ask her. I'll ask her in a minute. You're good. I'll just. Where were you from?
Oh, I'm from Bethesda, Maryland, so right outside Washington, D.C.
Okay.
But I was born in Dallas, Texas. I'm not sure if that makes a difference on anything, but I'm registered in Maryland.
Perfect. That's all I need. Sorry. So what's your relation to LULAC?
Actually, my grandpa was a former member of LULAC, and I've been going to chorizo menudo breakfasts my entire life in the DFW Metroplex area. So I think ever since I was young, I've been into politics because of LULAC and because of these meetings on Saturdays in Fort Worth.
Awesome. So that's great. No worries. So yeah, the debate's coming. Sorry, how old are you?
I'm 20. I turned 21 in August.
So this will be the first presidential race to vote in, right?
Yes, it will be my first presidential race to vote in.
So when you saw that there's going to be a debate, we're still quite a bit out from the election, and I just wonder what your thoughts on are having these two go up against each other while we still have over 4 months.
Actually, it's very interesting because I think everybody didn't expect a debate to occur because Joe Biden isn't the best public speaker. He's not as charismatic as Trump or even Barack Obama, his former president. So I feel like it was a risk that he's willing to take, and even as someone who supports him, it's very much I didn't expect him to do a debate at all.
Do you think the format of not having a live audience, of the mics being muted, do you think that'll give Biden maybe a little more of an even playing field? Because you're right, in front of a crowd, Trump does kind of have a superior speaking manner.
Yeah, I think Trump's able to rally a crowd in a heartbeat. He's very good at public speaking, whereas I do feel like Joe Biden is leaving the public's audience's voice out of this. I mean, I personally would like a crowd because it's able to show how the people actually feel, and I feel like that's also very crucial in a democratic republic.
So one of the most famous debates was Kennedy and Nixon.
Yes.
Honestly, thinking back on it, there's other ones I can remember, but that's the only one that I was taught as like a historical moment. Do you think that this, obviously we don't know yet, but do you think this debate has the potential of being something that's still discussed in political history in 20 years?
Well, I feel like the Kennedy and Nixon one was very transcendent because it was the first time a public debate was on TV, and people who saw the TV saw President Kennedy was the victor, mainly to the fact that he was charismatic and Nixon looked nervous on stage. Nervousness plays a massive factor. We've seen President Biden be nervous multiple times in this, and honestly, I feel like Trump's more. He carries himself in a manner that is more. He just carries himself differently, and I think in 20 years you can see this as a massive point because the effect it can have.
But stage presence
plays a massive factor.
So, as a young voter, as a first-time voter or presidential voter, what are some of what's the top 2 topics that you want to hear discussed that you're passionate about?
Number 1, the Palestine issue. Number 2, I'm from Texas, so I think the way Joe Biden or Donald Trump reacts to Texas and the way they've kind of ignored the federal government, I would like to see if they discuss that. And I would probably say Project 2025. Project 2025 is a massive talking point that I would like both parties to discuss because whoever wins will take control of our future, honestly.
When it comes to Palestine specifically, if we could talk a little bit about that, that's a place where both Trump and Biden have been criticized. Obviously, Biden is in the White House, so it's a different conversation. But looking at that, with the upcoming election, where does it play a role? Like, how important of it is, and do you think it'll be a considerable issue for Biden voters moving forward?
Yes, mainly to the fact that Democratic voters tend to be younger in age, and you see many of these protests involve a lot of the youth. And we always say, can the youth come out and vote? But you see now that a lot of people on TikTok and on social media platforms are saying they want to abstain because of this issue. And if you're Biden, you don't want the young voters to abstain. So on that part, you see it playing a massive factor on the presidential outcome.
Right, because someone not voting is almost as big as them voting for the other candidate.
Exactly. Basically.
I think that's it. Is there anything else that you're looking for specifically on the debate? Or I guess maybe my last question then is, both of these gentlemen are a little older, but especially Trump's kind of known as a firebrand. Do you think that'll be mitigated in the debate and the way it's things, or do you think you'll still see some sparks fly?
That's up to the moderator. And if he's able to control the environment, we've seen in previous debates between both of them that it was not moderated whatsoever. So I wonder if they'll mute the mics for the person who is not talking. But hopefully it is moderated. Hopefully it is able to be a tame environment where both parties are able to speak their side.
Would it be fair, though, to say that you do think the moderator would have to step in?
The moderator is going to play a massive factor in this.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. That was great.
Smart kids, right?
Yes.
Not as dumb as we
I don't find it threatening at all that they're.
I look at them every day and I'm like, yeah, I don't find it threatening at all. You guys are smart as me. The future is in a good place.
Perfect. So I'll have you look right at me.
In time, so the president of the organization is going to do the middle response.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to have you take just a half step back for me. Right there.
Are we allowed to stop and restart an answer?
Sorry, what?
Is it can I retry an answer?
Yeah, if something doesn't come out right, just let me know and we can totally start over. Between how loud it is and how mumbled my questions are, believe me. I've done lots of take twos. It's not a problem. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to hold this right here. Same thing as always. It's just going to have you say your first name, your last name. Awesome. How do you say it? I'm sorry.
Lula.
Nervous every time I go to say it. I'm like, oh shit. So if I can ask, can you tell me your age?
I'm 22.
Perfect. And where are you from?
Washington, D.C.
Perfect. So you're all the way in Vegas. Can you tell me a little bit about what made you want to watch the debate here at this event tonight instead of maybe going out and seeing Vegas?
Well, I consider myself pretty politically active and interested. I don't anticipate my opinions changing much after the debate. I'm not sure that many people's opinions will change much after the debate. But I'm definitely interested to see where the candidates fall and also the reaction here. It's been great hearing other people's anticipations, and I'm looking forward to seeing the reactions.
Well, I think you hit on something really interesting there, is that I don't know how many people that are watching this debate are like, boy, I sure don't know who to vote for, right? Like, they kind of know their parties. Is this more about seeing what your candidates, is this kind of a thing where in a year, we have either candidate elected, we can say, hey, they're not following through with this. Is that a better opportunity to see where the candidates stand on a specific topic, as opposed to maybe more traditionally a debate where we go, oh, I like this guy now?
I think nobody is not sure how they feel about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I get that promises made, and we'll see if those promises are kept down the line. I agree that it might be not so much Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, but each versus home, right? Are people going to turn out for them? Are they going to rally their base to show up? Not so much those swing voters in some states. So I do agree.
The election's pretty far out, but when we look back at 2020 and January 6th, we did see a lot of action in the streets. Things seem to have be a little bit quieter. There's instances we can point to across America, of course, but overall it seems a little quieter. Do you think, again, just your opinion, do you think towards the election we'll start to see a ramp up in in the streets political movements?
I disagree that it's quieter. I'm reading that there's rampant intimidation of public officials, librarians, school board leaders. It's very low level, but it's dangerous to be a poll worker. That stuff's insane, and the elections are politicized, libraries, schools, bars, all of that. And so I do believe there will be political violence in the streets at a high level if Trump loses. There'll be probably more on the protest side, maybe some violence if Biden loses. But I think that rhetoric of violence and stolen country and white replacement and all that is certainly proliferating, and it's getting on a lower, kind of more ubiquitous level.
Well, it's really interesting. You mentioned that it's come all the way down to school boards and libraries, kind of thing. Are you concerned that while there's so much attention paid to the presidential level, do you think maybe this is actually something that's affecting much lower level, school board 5? Is that where we should be looking, or do you think that it's really the presidential elections that kind of construct how we look down ballot?
I think that Trump particularly increasingly defines the Republican Party. Are you with him or against him? And at the low level, if you're MAGA or not, does matter. I think less so in other spaces. We're also seeing that it's not just about them, it's about where people throw big money. So, in New York, we just lost Jamal because of big money. And I'm seeing that as not just because of their policies, but because of what people say they support. Are they DEI? Are they woke? Are they Antifa? Are they, and those kinds of things are more important than what they're actually doing, what they've actually done.
Appreciate you taking some hard questions, and I really do appreciate the answers. Back to tonight's debate with the moderator, with no live audience, with muted mics. Do you think it'll be more, just that kind of factual, kind of flat, but maybe interesting, or do you think we'll still get a high level of combativeness?
It'll be interesting and horrifying and combative. I don't think it'll be overly factual. I do appreciate there not being a live audience. I get that that's part of the thing, but there's an audience at home. The press is going to do their thing, and ultimately, it's not about people watching a 2-hour-long debate. It's really about the sound bites and the TikToks, and they're going to get those anyway. I think that we know they can yell at each other. Do we know that they can defend their records, that they can speak confidently and consistently? I think particularly for Biden, people want to see him be coherent. The policy matters more than the guy saying the policy, but I do think people want a president they believe knows what's going on and can complete a sentence. Likewise, I think Trump will hopefully have to defend his record and explain why it's a hoax and why these indictments don't mean anything. And that Biden can also win back his voters. I think people are not going to necessarily flip to Trump because they're opposed to Biden, but they will stay home. And that deeply concerns me. You could call it the lesser of two evils, but the difference matters so much. I think it's imperative on Biden to earn back the people who wanted to vote for him in 2020 or want to vote for him now. And I feel that, these foreign policy issues are complicated, but a lot of people feel that he is just failing them and failing to draw red lines. Now, it's possible that even if Biden draws red lines, Netanyahu will ignore them. But still, he's got to do something to win back voters, and I'm hopeful that he does, but I think actions are speaking up.
And again, I asked this to her, and again, totally you can say I'd rather not answer. Are you willing to say who, at the moment at least, you're in support of?
So I wrote in Gaza for the primary in my Democratic ballot. I don't agree with everyone who's at the encampment in my school, but neither people sleeping in the same tent as each other. Right? I think that's a hugely important issue. I will be voting for Joe Biden, but I hope he takes into account kind of this imperative to change a little bit and earn back those voters. So my mom told me I have to vote for him, and I will, but I'm really hoping that I feel good about it.
So if he takes like you were talking about this will be my last question on this, but if he takes a stronger stance on Israel and Palestine and the conflict in Gaza, is that something you think he, like you said, not necessarily people that would switch and vote for Trump, but people that might stay home? Is that, do you think, maybe one of the biggest things he needs to hit on right now?
I think it is hard for people to turn around and vote for who they deem to be genocide Joe. Why can they bring themselves to write that man's name down and check his box when they view him as just crushing this people? I think even changing course might not be enough to get those kind of disillusioned voters, especially in Atlanta and Michigan. It shouldn't matter that they're in Atlanta or Michigan because the Electoral College is the reason this is even a competition, right? But to that end, I think some people might listen closely to what he says going forward, but it has been so long, and not just on this issue, that I think it might be too late to win back people by proving that he's going to do what they want.
Fascinating. Well, that was all I had, but thank you so much for talking with me. That was great.
Thank
and
you.
I really appreciate it. You had some interesting topics. I asked some hard questions, but I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Is it?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. They were great.
So we'll do the national president in the middle, and then I've got the post debate. I'm going to try to get to the audience as well for post debate.
Awesome. That'd be great.
Is it possible to get the video myself?
Here, give me 1 sec.
General thought is that it's 6% of the voters in 6 states who are going to decide this election. That 94% of voters.
Okay, cool. It's still beyond the AP's website, and then
It's only 6
I think, yeah.
I'll share it with them.
Okay,
Don't
worry about doing it, I'll share them all.
Then that's it.
Southwest, and about
And yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't know
the deciders. I mean, they even got
that everyone will make it just because they are pulling from the whole nation. So I always like to mitigate. But I think, I mean, I did get a text in the middle of that, which is probably not
at this point. They
but
trust
this is sounds good. So I think we're in good
democracy
space
means
for
different
that.
things to different people.
So,
I think a lot of it
I
is
will.
how's the
You know,
country
it's probably
run.
gonna be pretty full.
Right track, wrong track.
People
But
are
it is a
kind of dragging
very
their
small
feet,
sliver
so-
of people. You know,
It's
maybe
6:30, yeah,
all these big
5:36.
national debates and all these national labs.
So yeah, I'll probably be fairly
A couple of million people in the
still
room
for a little bit, and then
Take your time.
be done with it.
It is amazing though,
Leave your
right?
stuff
The
here, and then we
democracy
can
is
go
something
do,
that
have to
can
go in the
also
middle
be
and take care of another matter, but
that it is
finding it.
equally
perfect. Thank you so much.
to some Trump voters as Biden voters, and they see it the opposite way.
Or, I mean, one thing that happened during COVID is because there were changes to some election laws to accommodate the pandemic, there are people who thought that went too far and criticized that as in terms of election integrity. I do want to say this is such a great state to be in because in Michigan you have like these amazing students, right, and university spaces. You also have like a robust labor union kind of community. You have that suburban mom community that everyone's talking about. It also has rural elements. It's really like a great state and a key one in the so-called blue wall that at one point went to Trump and then Biden got it back. And these are all constituencies that both of these candidates are aiming their message at.
And I just quickly, I gotta say, Macomb County, 1980, that's where Ronald Reagan went in a very democratic state, and he went after the Reagan.
Okay, so I just want to go over how many people here are registered to vote and how many people here are registered, are not registered to
Bernie
vote
Sanders
as
and Johnson,
a
and they seem to love both of those people, and none of them really were cottoning on to Hillary Clinton. You know, I think this scenario just
Okay, let's do it by the registered.
gives us all of these little bit of microcosms here, and I do wonder if it is a good question. I just keep coming back to wondering whether this is even one of those voters is not why they're doing that, and how are they balancing the displeasure that they can be just people are Republicans, right? That they're more than in their life, switching over their huge ask. But that's clearly not happening with their now today and Donald Trump. And which one of those things is going to win out? I think is maybe end up being the story of the election. Well, and not Donald Trump makes it appeal to those voters. A lot of them make the alien voters, also women voters. That's always been a question of how he appeals to suburban women and what that looks like. And even other voters, their issues. But also, you know, a lot of this is the visuals and what that looks like. And one thing that was in the report before Laura was speaking of those voters from Houston homes, and we all know this as soon as Donald Trump got off his plane earlier, was that he was alone. I mean, it's staff with him, but he was not accompanied by the partners letting him along with Trump. That's her issue. And the fact that she is not present at this debate tonight based on what the voters are going through, texting officials about this, that she's not here. She was at all of the debates before. And yes, there is no audience here, but there is still a lot of Trump allies and surrogates who will be in the room right up the stage for each candidate in their respective rooms. After Access Hollywood and Nate came out and launched the 2016 campaign, just days later on that Sunday, Melania Trump came with Donald Trump to the debate and walked in wearing all hot pink. It was kind of this moment where she was standing by her husband and humming and waiting. And she always chooses moments like this to send a message, whether it's the State of the Union or big moments for him. And it is kind of interesting that she is not here tonight. We will see Dr. Joe Biden, who we expect, on stage at the end of the debate to represent Biden. What do you think about Melania's lack of presence?
I don't think that matters much. are certain things that are baked into the price of the stock in the market that people understand this to be a relationship. We just had Donald Trump on trial and convicted and custody with the court squad. His Melania that just had their baby on luncheon. Can you give a glimpse on the debate today or something that is going to solve itself at this point? I think
really on my mind is how much has changed. First of all, we keep talking about how much is the same for these candidates, but a lot has happened since they were on stage. And I think we're really going to this incredible burst of labor energy that's happened over the last 2 years. Obviously, the war in Gaza and the political energy that's turned on the progressive side. So there's a lot of, even though it's the same two guys, we're different. And there's a lot of dynamics that have also January 6th.
but we have experience together. We love sharing this with Delaware. Keep the coach here, the whole thing, and need him to know that we're allowed to energize so we can go back and get the other battleground stages. So, who's ready to win, though, guys? I have on time so we can listen to the debate, but I will not wait for you to find out.
I am our first LGBT and we all know and one of the reasons why I went there is to be around everybody. We do know we are all on the line between everything the Supreme Court has done this week, including today. We know all of our rights are on the line. The Dobbs decision, taking away freeway, environmental protection, that billionaires go ahead and they are going for every single right that we can do. Everything that we do right now, that we make sure that no one takes it for granted, that we go out and give every single tonight. I say, said this one word, said that, step this way, step that way. None of that matters. None of that matters to us in Philadelphia. We know what matters. Our democracy matters. Our rights matter. That we can turn the Supreme Court around if we get more years. Because if not, these will get worse. We know it. We look at what's the most important thing to me. I'm a lawyer. I don't care who steps here or whatever. That Supreme Court is the most important thing. And we're seeing it every single day. So thank you so much for being here. The energy in the room last night was fantastic. The energy in the room today is fantastic. We can't wait. We will make sure that we bring it. And when we bring it for Philly, we bring it for Pennsylvania. My friend, I call it secret. Y'all are supposed to be honest.
All of you understand that we're seeing two different visions of things, right? One guy who is from Texas who's focused Harrison. One guy who actually gets a damn best families and many young and drugs girl and understands his own role. But I hope you understand, but I can't know what's in your brain. I hope that you understand how much power you feel. This election's not going to be decided as much as I know about many great times and you win the election. What's going to determine the election is what you do in the next couple of days, what you do in the next couple of weeks. Quick story. I ran for state representative. My predecessor had been there for 3.5 years. A lot of people ran for office. The night before the election, it's really nasty fires all around. So the next morning, spoiler alert, I won it. But the next morning, I see one of my neighbors, and she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and I'm like trying to figure this here. She's like, so I'm seeing you like this is happening. This conversation. And she said, Malcolm, I don't know if you know, this is nasty fires all around. And ended up winning that war on election night by one. That is a reminder to each and every one of you. It's not about how many hands you see. It's not about how many people go things together. There is somebody, hear me when I say this. There is somebody who's only going to vote because you asked them. Not because the council people asked, not because schools asked, not because our great party chair asked, somebody's only going to show up and vote because you asked. And so don't let go of your power, do the work you got to do, and here it is.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry.
All right, we'll go live down there. Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You helped me with that.
Yes.
I was working out and I couldn't hear the audio. I was like, is it not playing? I was like, am I staring at the camera right now? And I didn't want to look
That's fine, okay.
I'll use a quick seat on this and you think I promise.
No, that's fine. You know, they don't be going through.
Concept takes half a step person right there, bro. Sorry, I'm running the show by myself tonight.
I used to work with cable.
Oh, you know.
Local origination. We had a channel, and so I was in franchising, but
to help out the local origination.
Gotcha. All right. So you'll look right at me, not the camera, and I'll keep just first question is, could I have you say your first name, your last name?
Member and president of the San Diego chapter, which is in California.
How long have you
in Orange County? Been involved since 1976.
So, if I hate to ask this, why?
No, that's right.
Can I ask how old you are?
I am 78.
So it sounds like you might have seen a debate or two in the
past. I have for quite some time.
What are your thoughts?
This one is a little different because it is a former president and the current president who is going to be going into a debate. Two, the format of it, because there's no audience, and they're going to have a little light on their on their podium, and they're not going to be able to yell at each other.
So you've got a Team Biden-Harris, so I'm going to guess that's who's for?
I'm a Democrat, lifelong. Except for one period of time, La Raza Unida.
Is always the one.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at Biden tonight, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? You want him to say, or are there anything you're nervous about?
Well, the president has to be, of course, presidential. He has his record. The economy is coming up, but I think people are not really feeling it now. But once they realize the economy is coming back up, they're going to, by election time, they're going to realize that they've been a mistake, whether it's in polling, surveys, etc., that the answer is going to be is we're going to stay with the president.
And when we look at the Trump side, are you expecting kind of that firebrand? Do you think maybe the way it's being set up will kind of mute that? Or
Trump is by nature, but he himself is not going to be able to stick to the script. But we'll see what happens. He may be so disciplined that he'll be gentlemanly about it. But we'll see what happens. You don't know what's going to happen.
So one of the most famous debates that I know of was Nixon and John F. Kennedy.
Correct.
We still talk about that. It's still taught in political classes in high school. Looking out 20 years, do you think this debate has a possibility of maybe not as serious, but getting into the history books?
Well, I think one additional thing about this debate is you have two older men, and makeup is not going to make a big difference here. Okay, so the question is, where is America going to go to? Where is the United States of America going to? Is it going to look at itself and say we don't need to grow with new immigrants, etc., or we just want to really kick out or deport immigrants? If you will. No, that's right.
What are maybe top two topics that are, as you as a voter, are want to hear about and matter to you?
The economy, and of course immigration in terms of the new citizens that are coming in. Whether we can either relax the hardened policies that are there now, or even take some big steps in terms of citizenship, the pathway for individuals who are coming to the United States. It's a changing demographics, okay? So you don't just have folks coming in from Latin America or Mexico. You have folks coming in globally from other parts of this great earth. And so it's just a matter of how do we somehow streamline the immigration process, but at the same time be responsible about it.
So that was all I have right now. Is there anything else you want to tell me before I let you go?
No. The 4 years is going to make a big difference because we will have it. No matter who we elect, it's going to be their last term. So the vice president pick is going to be a big factor in there, and whether he or she can take the big step in terms of being a president candidate in 4 years from now.
Well, it looks like we're starting, so I'll let you go. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
From the other side.
you decide you need an interview from the other side, I'm fine.
Absolutely. When there's a commercial break, because I know they're going to do one, maybe in the back right there, because that would be great. I'd love to talk to you about it. Thank you so much. Oh, perfect.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden. And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Is their top concern the economy? President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since he took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
You have to look at what I was left when I became president. Mr. Trump, we had an economy that was free fall. Pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was not that serious. Just inject a bleach in your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. We had jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so all we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 manufacturing jobs. So what have we done? What have we done? Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I come from a household where the kitchen tables and things weren't able to be met during the month was a problem. First things, first gas, first housing, first whole range. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with the housing. And we're going to make sure that we can't lose the price of housing. We're going to make sure we take care of the wages. We're going to make sure we cap rents. We're going to make sure we can't take a combination of what we're going to make sure we have rent lines. In addition to that, the situation in addition to that, we're in a situation very much at all. We're having until we left, I think no kids. We wouldn't be kids. And so we're creating that second job and make sure we're in a situation where, and so we now effectively brought down the price of jobs and jobs organization. We now have $15 on the price of jobs. We can shop for $15. You see, wants to be more than $200 in the shop and I'm sitting next year in a situation where all next year. So more considerations around housing has to be Thank you, President Trump. Never been so greatest because of me, everybody who raised by the countries who cannot do this way. And raised great, the country spent the money necessary so we wouldn't have a great depression and here we have spent the money necessary so the time we finish the great depression the last time for the economy, for the military, by the time we finish this, so many of those everything is right there for the military. I think we never got no more force and so many as how we dress. And he's going to be the evidence which is asked to say that's different. I'm the best man we create in the United States is a country where the South America actually is high up the different country and we know that they come to us and we stop the interest is high for the immigrants and bounce back jobs, bounce back with the voters. He is not going to do a job, he's going to have bounce back, he's still bounce back. That is absolutely, he does not say a good job. Thank you, President Biden. He's still doing the greatest thing in the world. Thank you, President Biden. Well, the best time in the world. We've been working on as you find yourself in a situation where that is an area of COVID. You remember yourself in the state of the largest tax company for history, particularly the dollars, the largest tax company, the largest tax company in history. Is the only president we heard who was in the job in the country. It's the only president the idea that he has something significant in the military. You know, he was president, there's still 20 people in Afghanistan, and he was president, you still find yourself in a position where you had a motion, you know, you still find yourself in a position where 2/3 of our non-negotiable, essentially, considered freedom to citizen, non-negotiable, essentially, and the president.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can. You want to respond? Well, I'm going to ask you to follow up. You can do whatever you want for minutes and busy. How will you ensure that doesn't start up all good coming into the U.S.? How will you ensure that doesn't drive such a
Anybody who doesn't know, just in close countries, and to work with yourself for years, last Saturday, and many others in our press, and give us a lot of powerful things. A lot of them will be set up as tremendously, and give us a lot of power to the coach. Biggest people of the state, most of the presidents are students who are tax candidates. I also did the largest regulation candidates, so that's why we had all the job. And the job went down, and then they bounced back, and we're taking credit for bounce back jobs. He also said we inherited 9% inflation. He inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they're doing. It's the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. As far as is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan. It was the most I stayed in history. The tax was the greatest economy that we've ever seen. Just try to know. The tax was the greatest economy that we've ever seen. Just about any other country. It was so good. The taxes were high. When we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus going back. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was growing like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right out of our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave them an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something out of our people died in his administration, even though we have largely fixed it. We came back in his administration, and we were in the middle of something which a lot of people don't want to talk about. But we had far more people dying in his administration. He did a mandate which was a disaster, mandating The vaccine went out here, mandated the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine, and did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only there, but throughout the entire world, they no longer respect this country. They don't respect our leadership, they don't respect the United States anymore. Or like a third revolution between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done, we become like a third world nation. It's a shame. The damage he's doing to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, in his integration later in this President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond
He is the largest national event in the two. He had $2 trillion tests of benefited very well. We have 166%. We have 1,000 trillion. We're in a situation where they will have to eat into our tax. If they just paid 24%, 25%, even on the they've been $500 million, billion dollars, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to rip out his debt, we'd be able to help make sure that all the things we need to child care, educare, making sure that the families strengthen our health care system, making sure that everyone, every single solitary person eligible for our family who was at the COVID, is getting dinner and everything we have to do. Yeah.
Thank you, President President Trump.
It was really his Medicare, beaten to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting on Medicare, they're putting on Social Security, they're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put on Social Security. We will wipe out Medicare. So we will try to reverse our sentence. It's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 30 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. They don't respect it. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. But they're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely shame. What's happening?
Thank you, President Trump.
The federal government still has a role in whether or not we have access to abortion pills. This morning, about 2/3 of all as presidency June's blocking and allocation.
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not back it. And if we look at this whole question that you're asking, the complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, we had Novi, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted to have religious leaders. And what I did is to put three Supreme Court justices on the court, and I happened to vote in favor of killing the Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago, we started saying about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into other things. But every legal salary throughout the world, for most recent, wanted it to go back to the states to do that. Now the states are working it out. And we look at Ohio, it was a decision, it was an end result, it was a little bit more liberal than we would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different, Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the voting people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people have to follow my heart, some people don't believe that. But I believe that exceptions for what process and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people will, probably will, but you have to let it also. Because it has to do with other things. You gotta get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. And we'll determine what we do next and we will kill the baby. What happens we brought it back to the States and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's a great thing. And this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who said the state should be able to have a great state for 6 weeks. And we will be pregnant to not send us to happen and have him decide what your circumstances are. The idea that states are able to do this rule like saying, I'm going to send certain rights back to the states, that each state have a different rule. But there's so many young women, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he was went to Cuba. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in to talk about that. Here's the deal. There's a lot of young women being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous. And we can do nothing about it. And we try to arrest them across state lines. There have been many young women murdered by the same people who allowed us to come across our border. We are told it's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. It's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And we opened it up, and these immigrants are coming into our country. And they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible crime. As far as the abortion is concerned, it's not back with the states of Novi. In many cases, it's actually which is what everybody wanted, including the founders if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have everybody wanted brought back. When they really wanted to bring back, he was taking together. Everybody wanted brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And then this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it back then.
This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which have 3 trimesters. First time is between a woman and a doctor. Second time is between a doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making that decision. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
The Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. Takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board, at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill?
I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, we made sure that we are in a situation where you have no circumstance where they can come across the border with the number of border police law now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me, endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now we're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more border patrol and more asylum.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of this. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. All he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world they come here. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who was great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, he endorsed me for president. Random, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in terrorism.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything across the border is one who came along and killed 3 under his administration, killed Al-Qaeda, actually administration, killed 3 American soldiers, That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through. The idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating and he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad border, including thousands of citizens, including those who have lived here for decades. And if so, how will you do it?
When they come in. They're killing our people in New York and California. The 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world that had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad border, including
people are coming in
hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, and every state in the union. There's no borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of this ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crimes. I call it migrant crimes. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like he's reading incredible articles over the last few days.
because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. He doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody but us. I had the highest approval rating for veterans. And we have to get a lot of these people out. We have to get enough fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City. By far the highest. And now it's down to less than half. Because he doesn't care about his veterans. He doesn't care about I have the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved, Joyce. I got through Congress. All of the different things I approved. They abandoned it. We are by far the highest, and now it's down to less than half. Because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he's killed so many people at our border by all of these people come in here. It's a very sad day.
And I spoke about those heroes that died. Went to the war, went to cemetery, one cemetery. Part of the situation where in great respect for veterans, my son's been a year in Iraq. My son is one of the experts about such a veteran, state trooper,
we put it in commercials, we notified them. We had 18 people that said I didn't say it. And think of it, who would say, I'm at a cemetery, I'm talking about our veterans, nobody's taking better care. I'm so glad this came up. There's nobody that's taking better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would confront generals and others say, suffers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was made up by him. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence units are made up, just like the UK with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that was Russian disinformation. It wasn't. That came from the Sun Hunter. It wasn't Russian disinformation. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, the same thing. 51 intelligence agents say that the laptop was Russian disinformation. It wasn't. That came from the Sun Hunter.
Period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to Ukraine.
Top of the foreign policy, I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO.
All right, thank you so much.
Putin's terms acceptable.
Foreign policy, I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO.
As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, a president that knew that was respected by Putin, he would have invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You can talk about numbers, you can double those numbers, you can triple those numbers. We did nothing to stop it. In fact, everything was such a horrible, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, he should have fired Somebody's got no love lost. But you should have fired those generals. No general not fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of Afghanistan. Millions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind. We left American citizens behind. He saw that. He said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and
should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan. But we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this citizen's dream. I talked to him about his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world was blowing up under him. And you know, there's so much more I can do. The situation Iran is attacking American troops. Cuba, all the situation where a number of these troops, and he did not increase his presence. This guy told Ukraine, he said, they're just having an excellent problem. Do whatever you want. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans Afghanistan. Number three, further sudden situation where take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine. This guy told Ukraine, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did.
President Trump, I come back to you for 1 minute. I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine.
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. We had a leader in this war. He let everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time Zelensky comes in this country, he walks out with $60 million. He's never. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we spend for this war, we shouldn't be spending $200 billion now. I will have that war settled. $200 billion, that's a lot of money. As president-elect before he took office on January 20th. So that's the war settled. People kill so needlessly, so stupid. I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying fast before I take office. That's right. And we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly. And I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
The fact is that Putin's war. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of Soviet, not just a piece of all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think you stop there? You think you stop there? You take France? What do you think happens in Poland? What do you think happens in Afghanistan?
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has attacked Israel,
killing more than 1,000 people
Israel
and
is
1,800
continuing
of
its military
hostages.
offensive in
Among
Gaza.
those held and
So
thought
what
to still be
additional
alive are
weapons
5
will you
Americans.
use to get
Israel's
Hamas
response
and
has
Israel
killed thousands of
and the war?
Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages. Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Everyone would agree, the United Nations Security Council strengthened the G7 to Israel with Netanyahu and endorsed the plan.
What's happened?
Which is 3 stages. First stage is to train the hostages,
2,000-pound bombs.
a ceasefire. Second phase is ceasefire with peaceful conditions. Third phase is no, the end of the war. No one wants the war to continue in the world. Pushing hard to get to Israel. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel, violence is no longer denied until 2000. They don't work very well. Now they're here for violence to people. Support the president with all the weapons they need and when they need it. By the way, I'm the guy that organized the war against Iran when they passed a full-blown ballistic missile attacks on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israel was accidentally killed, and it was stopped. We saved Israel. We were our biggest producer. Support Israel of anyone in the world. So those are 2 different things. Hamas cannot
Back to Ukraine for 1 second.
we continue to
We
send
have
our
an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you gotta put up the money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of millions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. We were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that.
Spent
$100 billion or maybe more than less than us. We're over $100 billion more spent.
So you got to put up your money like I did with NATO. I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. We didn't have any going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us.
And you should let him go and let him finish his job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian.
We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of the location, because we have an ocean between. You got to ask them, as far as Israel and Hamas. Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The idea that we have our strength lies in our lines as well. Maybe a big ocean, we're able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe. What happens is that we have to continue to go into NATO. Given Article 5 agreements, attack on one, attack on all. We want to start with the war we're talking about. Go ahead, let Putin go in and control Ukraine, and then move on to all the
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of independent Palestinian state?
To see, but before we do that, the problem we have is we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I think they make great trade deals with the European nations. Because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I changed that. The big thing I changed is they don't want to pay.
So they kill us on trade, we can make trade deals with the European nations.
It's because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO.
They don't have cars. They don't want anything that we have. We're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't pay. The only reason
I won't do that.
he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said,
But
And he's
now
right
we're
about
in the
this.
same
I
position.
said, no,
We're paying
I'm not going to
everybody's
support
bills.
NATO if you don't
It's not
pay.
an issue of
They
democracy.
asked me that question,
Former
would you
President
guard
Trump,
us against
I want
Russia?
to ask you about
And a very
January 6,
secret meeting with
2021.
28
After you rallied your supporters
states
that
at that
day,
time, the
some of them
nations at
stormed
that
the
time.
Capitol
They
to
said,
stop
no,
the
you don't
constitutionally
pay. I
mandated
won't do that.
counting
And
of
you know what
electoral
happened?
votes. As
Billions and
president, you
billions of
swore an
dollars
oath to,
came
quote,
flowing in the
preserve,
next
protect,
day and
and
the next
defend,
month.
unquote, the Constitution.
Now we're in
What
the
do you
same
say to voters
position.
who
We're
believe
paying
that you
everybody
violated that
else.
oath?
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. You rallied your supporters that day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6 and proved that you were leaving?
Well, let me tell you about January 6th. On
What
January
happens in the
6th,
United
we had
States'
great water.
reputation under this
Nobody ever
man's
knew we were
leadership
very
is including weaponization, which
January
is
6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever.
because
On January 6th, we respected all over the world.
Seconds
All
left. My
over the
question
world, we
was, what do you
respected.
say to
And
those
he comes in
voters
and we have a last bunch of stupid people.
on January 6,
The United States' reputation under this man's leadership is hard, including weaponization, which I'm sure some of them can justify. But he goes after his political opponent because he can't be unfair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was,
soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of writing, by the way, the mayor
peacefully and patriotically.
They turned it down. I offered 10 because I can see, I had virtually nothing there. The Hastings don't make a speech.
But she's
I can
saying,
see what was
oh,
happening.
no, it's my
Everybody was saying
responsibility, I was responsible for this.
and I
Because
said,
I
you know
over
what?
10,000 soldiers were National Guard.
You could feel
But she turned them down, and the mayor,
and I said,
in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor
and I
of
offered it
DC.
to her, and she now
They turned it
admits
down.
that
I
she
over
turned it
10,000
down.
because
And
I
it
can
was the
see,
same
I
day
had
she was
virtually nothing to do. They asked her to go make a speech.
She said, I was full responsibility.
And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You can feel it. You can feel it too, and you can feel it. And I said, hey, I have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her, and she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
I sat and died off of the wall because she sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching some baby being made by his vice president, and one of his colleagues, and one of his guys go to do some calls for stunts, but instead he said, they're tossing young people, construction, he's kind of a grand patron of America. In fact, he says he's not forgiving for what they do. So they've been convicted, he says he lost 3%. Saying that now he went to every single organization. I don't know how many cases.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump. For that done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, and you destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there, the fires all over the city, destroyed.
But they've done to some people that are so innocent.
Big chunks of the city, they saw them coming and they left.
When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down
this whole subject is
many other cities, Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there, with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of the, they took over big chunks of Seattle. It was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said, this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic, rather than the Unselected Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that and then they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail.
So the Republican did that, they go.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
I'm the person who stages the limit of the federalist man.
Those people are patriots.
There was no effort to stop what's going on. And all of us, every one of those who convicted deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody just when they broke down doors, broke through windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned over statues. The idea that those people are patriots.
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said that the election, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail. And your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what you mean
I give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said that electors would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about people you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon. His son is a felon. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important thing. But he can be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe can be a convicted felon with all of the remarkable things. All of the death causes of the war, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion, you change the prosecutor, otherwise you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, let's quit we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, coming right to the show, you want to talk about
the idea of sending in people relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie. Number two, the idea that you have the right to seek recognition against anyone just because you're nice is wrong. It's simply wrong. One pregnant son is told. Number three, crime is universal charge.
Sorry.
How are you guys? I didn't have sex with the police.
Probably going to be 5 but
that case is going to be appealed at one.
no, that's I got
a
it.
very terrible judge, a horrible judge. Prosecutors, all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
More they know about what he's done, yes. More they know about what he's done. There's a lot more proof. He's got a lot of cases on him. He got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the jury will do, but I do know that's what. And so the fact that Did you ever think you heard the president say that it was secret commission? I've heard the president say that he thought it was some good ideas, but got me involved around the first place after my son died of a study in Iraq because of the Iraq. I said I wasn't going to run again until I was forced out in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the St. Anne choir they sang back in Germany. And the young woman, I spoke to one, and they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The ones that wanted to try to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people. What American president ever said, Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing anti-Semitic prayers, carrying swastikas. This is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I think what they are. Good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense for it.
Yeah, both of you know that sir has been totally wiped out. Because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration of this, so he just keeps going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it's ridiculous. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency is, without question, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
The debunked happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could be elected. He thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those torches, and he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. The idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated. We saw it overnight. We saw it happen in GMC. We saw people breaking windows. We saw people occupying them. I think so. Stop for the reason why 40 of this 44-time cabinet and step over this. And I think that's vice president.
It makes sure that we get both sides and not just a bunch of people arguing with each other.
You're totally welcome not to answer this. I always like to let people know that, but just in case, would you be willing to say, who you're supporting right now?
We're not
I think that's great. It's also a chance for an audience with multiple different views to be able to watch it together. I think that'll be my last question. It's just, how's it been to see members of LULAC watch this debate together?
I think it's very important, again, in a democracy, having voters that are informed, getting people to go out there and vote and select a candidate of their choice. That's what democracy is about. That's what America is being built on. And we're one of the few countries where that still stands tall, and where America is a democracy for the rest of the world should be.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. That was really interesting. I'm going to try to grab it. I'm going to grab him real quick. So, yeah, if you want. Let's see. Oh, it's casino lighting, none of it. But I think, actually, let's have that way. I'll just walk over there. I don't know why I'm pointing from here. Right on where the carpet meets the tile. Oh, on this side, sorry. Yeah, a little better, Okay. So just to give you a heads up, you'll look at me, not the camera. You need to raise it up just a little bit. Yeah, I always like to say, if I ask a question you don't want to answer, just say like, hey, can we skip that? That is totally fine. I just like to let people know.
Right here. Tell me first of all your first last name.
C-A-L-L. I think Trump is actually doing really, really well and showing that big disparity between the two.
You'll see me look over at the camera, but you'll kind of just stay right on me. First question is just going to have you say your first name.
He cannot think on his feet at all. President Trump is just on it. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and President Biden just doesn't seem like he's with it at all. He doesn't have any answers at all.
How important do you think this debate is for deciding who will be the next president?
I think it's super important, and I think people are going to be able to see the difference. At least I hope they can see the difference.
And what do you think about the atmosphere in here tonight? How would you describe it for people who aren't here?
I think everybody here seems to be very excited and just very pumped up for this election.
It's obviously a pro-Trump crowd here.
Obviously it
Are you
is,
having a good time? How are you feeling?
Oh yeah, I'm having a great time.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Could I ask you a couple of questions? Okay, wonderful. Your name, please.
Terry.
Okay. Can you spell it for me?
Yeah, T-R-R-Y.
Okay, and your last. Where do you?
Lyon Township.
Lyon Township. Your general thoughts so far?
I think Trump is killing it.
You be more specific?
Yeah, I'm really pleased that he's keeping his cool and sticking to the facts and not, getting into a fight. And my thing is just very pathetic.
Tell me more about that. How would you describe President Biden's performance so far?
Cognitively deficient and, not able to compose his thoughts clearly. In fact, the hosts are cutting him off a couple times now. It's kind of sad.
And how important do you think this debate is in terms of deciding who the next president will be?
Extremely important, and I don't ever remember a debate before where everyone seems to be talking about it, and everybody's wanting to watch it, and I think it's hugely important. Yeah.
Is it living up to what you thought it would be?
Yeah.
In what ways? Well, let me get back. Thank you so much.
I'm actually a little bit surprised because he is doing more of those personal attacks, which I think that if he could stray away from those, that it would lean better to those moderate voters. But he has been doing a lot of personal attacks, a lot of strawman attacks, and it's not a good look, and it's definitely not the cards that he should be playing.
Interesting. You mentioned, we talked about a little bit about the AI, but I was wondering if you could expand on the nuclear war part a little bit.
Yeah, so I don't think we've ever been this close to nuclear war, at least in my lifetime. I definitely think that the world was a much more peaceful place under Trump's leadership. He has a very strong personality, he's not going to mess around. And so if you are messing around, he's going to come deal with you quickly and decisively. And so I think that, as rightfully said, that our pullout of Afghanistan was terrible and it was botched, and I think that gave a lot of confidence to different world leaders that are bad actors. And I think that's why we have different wars happening right now, especially with Ukraine. And I think that the Western powers telling Ukraine not to negotiate early in the war was a disaster. It was a terrible idea. I think that Putin's made clear multiple times that he's willing to negotiate or willing to stop the war, but we keep it going and we keep wanting it to be there, thinking that, we're going to save Ukraine, we're going to get all this land back. But all that's really happening is hundreds of thousands of men are dying, and Ukraine is just advancing further and further. Russia's just advancing further and further, and it's really travesty. And now we've got a nuclear-powered submarine just sitting off the coast of the eastern United States, one of Russia's, and it's scary.
And they did talk about Ukraine. Is there anything you heard that gave you optimism, or anything that made you kind of concerned what one of the candidates had to say?
I think the most concerning thing is just that there doesn't really seem to be an end in sight for the Democrats, and even a lot of people here that were in the crowd were cheering, we got to protect democracy, we got to protect democracy. Ukraine is literally one of the most corrupt nations in the world, and it has been for a long time, and it's not that we don't need to protect them, but it is that we need to allow people to protect themselves, and it's not America's job to be the world police. We like to think we are, and sure, it spurs our economic activity, and military-industrial complex loves it, and all that, but there are diplomatic solutions that don't involve hundreds, if not millions of people dying.
sounds like it's getting started again, so I want to let most of us get back to it. So my last question is just, we've still got probably halfway there. Who do you, if you had to put one above the other right now from what you've seen, who do you think's taking the, it's hard to say it's a victory because it's not a boxing match at the end, but who do you think's kind of presented themselves better?
You know, it's very interesting because this event that we're watching, sorry, so in this setting that we are right now, a lot of the people that I'm surrounded by are Democrats. And so hearing them cheer at different things and hearing them say that Trump is lying at different times is really surprising because I know that a lot of the things he's saying are true. And that's one of the biggest things that drew me to Trump is just seeing how the media and the public twists his words and twists his opinion and changes it from what he's actually saying. And so I think if the fact checkers come out and they're truthful and honest, I think it goes to Trump. But I think if the media and pundits are able to get their way, then obviously it's going to go to Biden.
Very interesting. Well, I'll let us get both back to it. Thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump used that.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump used battle to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Almost every police force in the nation, every state, is supporting advocacy. Almost every police force. And what he's done to our black population is horrible. The fact that for 10 years he called them super great, in the 1990s, and he called it, and they are right offense, and they see what happens. When they see what happens for the justice for the criminals and for the historically black colleges and universities, who are funded and got all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim that you love him, Scott was incredible, he did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, it was a great idea, it's one of the most successful economic development acts ever created opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiaries are blacks, and that's why we have the best numbers for that is the Navy ever, they say ever, I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's arrested much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanic. But when you see these millions of people pouring into our country and they're going to take your job, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet, that's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we have
The situation where we have been that serious American claims that have done something that have done things
It was a great law for the United States, and I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money, because it was nobody else was paying into it. It was a disaster. Paris was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, Russia nothing, India nothing. It was a rip off of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money, because the kids are, we were the only ones who were supposed to have it, nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. Everything was just, I'm the one that got the insult now for the seniors. He's organizing story all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. I have stage in here, and I don't think it's music. We're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. By 2019, I realized that this was happening. We were going to start this finance, we'll continue on. For such a time, thousands of vacation, tables, piece of art to, for certain movies, directions, we change, create the elements and do some practice. But the idea that the terms, I need to ever become more concerned for myself. I've not seen any indications.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, nothing is done to Social Security seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step you're willing to take to keep Social Security?
So every day, millions of Americans struggle to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, nothing is done to Social Security seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step you're willing to take to keep Social Security solid?
Yes, make the very
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solid, or is that one?
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solid, or is that one?
Biggest thing, the situation where the money is shit. And like you said, that is $400,000 $40 million insurance because of the previous situation, to have it, which was $15,000 for protection.
Thank you, President Trump.
All my life, I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody like this. Some of the other things too. You mentioned the lockdown, you mentioned Russia. So I've dealt with politicians a lot of my life. I've been on this side of this equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody like this. It's misinformation and disinformation. They use it as a super story that he made up. It's a lie or whatever. It's a disgrace. But Social Security now, he's destroying it because millions of people are going into a country and they're not going to Social Security. They're taking the place of our citizens there. What they're doing to succeed to investors is unbelievable. Investors are living in Spain, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in a country before.
The grandchildren got fired because he's the one who does what he says. He's the one standing on Trump. He said, number two, the idea that we're in a situation where all of these millions of ways to come, we're taking a recession. There's really no inflation because one of the worst presidents in history, 69 presidents power program, the worst president, which is all the way.
But the average cost of child care in this country is risen more than $11,000 a year per child for many families. The cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent.
President, I think the alternative cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen more than $11,000 a year per child for many families. The cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what will you do to make child care more affordable?
I did file a lot. I filed because there was just a lot of the time because you were just slow. And if you said that, that's what I did. We have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, which we saw that. The other thing is, this guy's a crazy everything. We asked for the should fire. Never seen it ever. I turned it down. I said, because you were saying that a lot of the times at the end of the great show. It was embarrassing. Not easy to fire. You pay a person. This guy's a fucking idiot. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that Afghan Afghanistan operation. Most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Did you fire anybody that's had a bullish, that's allowed us to have the worst wars in the history of the world? They didn't get fired, they allowed 18 billion people, many for citizens in the history of the country. Now, everybody that allowed our country to be destroyed. Our country is being destroyed, and you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time in this debate. This should be a debate. He is the worst president. He's the worst president in the history of the country. He's destroyed our country. Now, we're trying to do it. Come out, came up with nothing deal. And we used it a little bit, like this one, insignificant. He wants us to borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just get to that. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He's the worst in history.
United States of America. Nothing beyond the finest military store and finest in the history of the world. No one exists for American history. No one. That's the world. No excuse for history. The United Nations. That was talking about worst government. I was joking. Really, $150 million from 58 million back into presidential story. They had reached the vote. It was the worst president in American history. One of the best presidents. They said he was the worst of all of American history. That's a fact. That's not projection. You can argue the business stuff that they will. The idea that he was child. He did very originally on that. He should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of certain men. And we should increase the affordable child care rates. We should encourage business to go with
President Trump's question was about what would you do to make
Taxes on the we also think that they raise was what he's doing so fast. And then Rigby, I'll show you, and then Rigby was the best. And if I give it another 4 years, I will be the best, and they'll be the best. Nobody's ever, we had an economy like this, nobody's got taxes like that. He said, everyone in the US will raise your taxes for the lowest times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the poor people, that they all the politicians talking about cutting taxes. They would cut taxes, as I said. We did protesters, Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows.
The fact of the matter is that he did not provide Asian increase the tax. I said I never raised the tax. In this situation where he talks about how he's not a very significant tax. Everything goes on is what economists said. That's what it costs the average American $2,500 a year. That's never paid. It's just a fundamental fact. And the largest deficit in he's in a situation where he talks about how he has nowadays China. You know, the lowest rate deficit China since 2010.
Let's discuss the academic impact in the millions of Americans that have made a top priority. The opioid crisis for both of you. The number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under the lowest rate of China since 2010.
Thank you, President Trump. Let's discuss an academic impact on millions of Americans. You have made a top priority in the opioid crisis. Right now, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under Bush, they went up. Under your administration, former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, there are not down records or not overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What do you do to help Americans fight now in the throes of addiction or struggling to escape
We have somebody's afraid to do this. You notice he's talking about on terrorists because we're bringing so much money to the terrorists situation in China. China's going to go on scene because it's too it's tremendous. On the state of steel industries and the synagogue, he hasn't done that. He hasn't sold terrorists because he can't, because it's too much money. He's got the largest deficit in the history of our country. He's got the worst situation in China. China's going to work us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do
Jake, we're going very well in addiction until we're going to Canada. 2.5 years of crap, no one's ever had before, in every way. And then we had to get tough, and because the drugs flowing across the border. It started to happen, so we got a great crowd, we went to certain dogs, and also it's not only the 18 million people, and I know these people plus, the guy was 70% of our categories. And human trafficking in women coming across the border, the worst thing I've ever seen. And nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. The number of drugs coming across the border is the largest we've ever had in elections.
President Trump, thank you, President Biden.
Fentanyl, when the bipartisan was down, and I
want to make sure there's a machine, and we have that big machine that will realize it's not the comments, it's not the cost of all this. Those players do, stock players do. It's a very fitting machine, it's a neat machine, it's a neat machine. We're coming down very hard in every country, just in terms of all the technology. And we have that human number, and we have the technologies that we put it together. That's what we have to do, is to build those machines.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, President Trump. And again, the question is about Americans and representation right now.
We're coming down very hard. It's just successful. Mexico's catch and release. That's what we had so many things that we had.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, but again, the question is about Americans and growth of addiction right now.
He ended the raid in Mexico. We ended catch and release. I made a catch and release in Mexico, and catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done. Hard negotiations with Mexico. I had nothing. It's just like when you saw hostage, we lost $6 billion. We lost everything. We bought a hostage. Now we have hostage. I will have that report around. I just said, "You guys," and he was probably asked us millions of dollars. We have 2 cases. We're paying $60. I will have him very quickly. As soon as I take office, I said, literally, as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have done a long time ago. But he was probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays every time. We had 2 cases where he paid $6 million for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially just all.
Thank you, President Trump.
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you will be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job while enduring?
First of all, 15 and a half years, I will give you actually coach everyone else. This is we are exhausting, I say, well, a lot of people think this, the whole idea of communication, and just 15 because he has seen people who are trying to teach job overseas, they're not about assignments, not doing prizes, they're doing exams. That's why I'm sorry, the whole idea is to establish that focus on more things that we will establish because he was on the how much it costs for you to teach jobs overseas. About $3 billion, that's exactly great right now because in a sense it's great. Yes, it's a really good job. It's not very stable. Guess what?
President Biden, 40 seconds left. Would you like to ask something?
Yeah, those stats, somehow, maybe this will be it's $40 billion market in right now in the next 6 grade. So we do a good job.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to ask something?
It's the strongest country we are. We're something we can keep our money. Trust all our some lady calls up to you, thank you, John, you're with us, both of us,
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be able to, at the end of your second term, what do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities?
Well, I took 2 tests, I got a test.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities?
get it all after you want to check. I think it's after shape was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm sorry that I've seen it like this. I was negotiating as I was years ago before I was very because, and you know what, I didn't do well. I guess I've never seen anybody case.
Will you pledge tonight?
Accept
the results of this election.
I've seen this.
President Trump appointed specific concerns and other aspects. Will you pledge tonight that all legal challenges have been exhausted and you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins? And you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable.
But I shouldn't have to say that in process. And you can see the statements that I listen to Twitter all the time. And also, I say that's made in the Roosevelt, it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. And it's just in the speech I made. In fact, I believe that I'm just glad I've ever spoken to anyone. Nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol. In many cases, the question is about police and the state's policies. There is a responsibility. The answer is, the election is fair. I'll tell you something. I wish you would deal with this. Because I was here and I went places, enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have felt the election. Because I was I wish you was the president. I would never have that. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. The only reason I'm here is she's so bad as the president. But we make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His two policies are so bad. Military policies are insane. They're insane. These are worse than the other end of them. He will develop into this order and we're closer to the World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III. And he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi Jinping, all of these people, they don't respect him, they don't fear him, they have nothing going for this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III. World War III. I can't believe a single major war to trade and shot it. So we have a powerful nation. We're one of those because of the people. That has been our people. Okay. Right now,
The question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of
They took a lot of land to never saw it, and I never saw it ever. They took no land, nothing. And just nothing. He knew what not to do. They gave us what he knew that. He started off taking out the place. He took nothing from me. Now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right now. That's a war that should have never started. Never started ever. It's so sad. And he's going to take over as the U.S. Commission. He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine, Russia never attacked. Because Ukraine's not even he's the whole they're letting out people, they're letting out soldiers, they've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities, the golden homes, 3,000 years old from old cities and stupid decisions. Russia will never attack. There's nothing like a fair, honest, election. Absolutely. I would much rather accept these, the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want to have a news conference over the next week, we'll have another one of these in a week. And again, I would absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that. Unfortunately, running again, I wasn't really going to run. I saw some of the horrible job he did. And again, doing that, because it's the only way he was going to win. Unfortunately, it's turned out my numbers and because the people understand. Let's see what your numbers are. This is actually, let's see, this orientation, you also say there's no one single report for the American
We'll be right back.
Especially with artificial intelligence, where the U.S. currently leads the world. American researchers are making exciting new discoveries. U.S. companies are investing billions in AI solutions that will strengthen small businesses. Important competitors like China will surpass America in AI.
We wanted to find out whether either one of them that we expected would actually be the person showing up. And I think we've seen that the current president can barely finish a sentence without gasping for breath. And that the person from New York that we thought was such a bombastic Bullard is not the case at all. He's a really thoughtful and capable man. I think it's been a wonderful evening.
What have been the key issues in your mind so far?
Key issues are that Trump is on stage, outnumbered by 3 or 4 people, and never really given a chance to complete what he has as a valid perspective. And that I can't imagine how many times in a political debate has one person accused the other person of being an absolute liar. This is absolutely outrageous. So where is the truth?
much better off with Trump than Biden. There's no question there. The rest of it is just about passing.
Do you think this debate is helping President Trump in this case?
Clearly.
Why do you think that?
Because people are seeing and hearing his words from his own perspective directly, and not being filtered and word splice through very biased media who has no semblance of being able to keep their opinions to themselves. There's no regard for the being able to properly represent who's on the other end of the camera.
Thanks so much.
All right.
What is your name, first and last?
Tom Llewellyn.
Tom Llewellyn.
L-L-E-W-E-L-L-Y-N.
Tom, where do you live?
I live in Milford, and very, very strong supporters of Maddox's. I think it's absolutely outrageous that not only at the federal level, but here in Michigan, the legal system has been criminalized to have Republicans be put to type of persecution that is, we should never be in the political arena.
Appreciate your time.
And I mean, just look at it's one of the most diverse African-Americans in U.S. history. So that's kind of what's calling me a little bit more of my attention. But I mean, if it was my preference, I was not looking forward for a rematch.
So watching Biden tonight, how do you feel he's done on the debate floor?
So far, surprisingly good. I thought it was going to be kind of chaotic like the other debates, but I think that they did a good job as far as like muting them and having a time limit. But he's called out Trump. He finally got a little bit aggressive, and I kind of like seeing that. Before he's kind of just talked about himself, but now he's actually going on the attack, but on good things, and it'll show the American people the faults that Trump has. So that's kind of what's.
And then on the flip side, how do you think Trump's been handling himself? How do you think he's done in the debate so far?
Well, I mean, a little biased. Trump hasn't been my favorite candidate. He's kind of seemed like he's rambling, using the talking points from his campaign, and just kind of really leaning on into the migration crisis. When the question came up of how would he support the African American population, he said that migrants are taking both Hispanic and Black people's jobs, which is like choose one or the other. You know what I mean? So that's he's not doing great tonight.
We've still got a little bit to go, but has there been anything really stand out you think was really notable to you?
They kind of bickered a little bit in the middle of it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And the fact that they let it go on as long as what it was, and you really saw that what Biden said, it got under Trump's skin. So I think that was pretty interesting. And he showed his true colors.
I'll try to let you get back here in just a second. I had a question, and as I was saying that, it just left me. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Maybe what are like top one, top two topics for you during or at the presidential level?
As the first generation Mexican American, I think immigration. We are, well, as far as where I am in Texas, it's kind of like one of the main things that I'm talking about. There was a bipartisan bill supported by both Democrats and Republicans to do a reform on immigration. But then Trump said no, and it got killed. So Trump is saying that, he's wanting to reform, he wants to change the immigration process. But when that was on the table, it was completely dismantled. So he's not, I don't think he's just wanting to kind of shoot themselves in the foot and let it crumble down on its own. I don't think he actually cares.
Were you happy to see it come up during the debate?
Yes. And I think that's one of the issues that everybody here is thinking about.
just because, when Biden came in, everybody said, oh, he had an open door policy, but nothing didn't really change. It was just like migrants thinking there's a Democratic president, he's more welcoming to our town. And now you see, past 2 months ago, that Biden signed an executive order kind of restricting it, bringing the Trump era policy back in. So, I mean, and I think he's just doing that to get crossover votes. Because, I mean, we're a few months away from the election. I think I saw a recent poll that they're like 0.04 chance of from the polls. So I think right now everybody's just trying to do whatever they can do to kind of bring in the crossover vote.
So with the debate, there isn't really a winner and a loser, but do you feel like one of the candidates has maybe stood out a little more than the other one so far?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it's Biden. And I'm really surprised by it. Because usually, Trump's very outgoing, outspoken, and he's not afraid to really show his true colors. But Biden has really kind of put some sharp teeth in and really been on it. I mean, you could really see Trump's facial expressions and going off of the camera because he's getting under his skin. So, I mean, I think Biden has been doing a pretty good job on calling him out on his errors.
Second to last question. Well, actually, last question, I guess. If you're willing, could you share your age with me?
Yeah, I'm 21.
Awesome. Oh, so this will be your first presidential?
Yes.
I guess then I do have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the most famous debates is the John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon debate. It was the first televised one, and lots of things like that. Do you think this one, maybe not to that level, but do you think this will be a debate that kind of makes the history books?
What I've gathered from other people, they are interested in this debate. There's some people are going to be like, it's kind of chaotic. It's going to be like, the reason I came because I thought it was going to be funny. But I was surprised that actually the dialogue they have been having, but I think it's going to reach historical records. Just from kind of like the memes that people have been reaching out to, and everybody's wanting to know. I mean, I feel like this election is really going to set the precedent for the next 10, 15, 20 years, because a lot of things can happen in one administration.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. Did it end?
Oh, it ended?
Is that it? I don't know. Did it end?
Did the debate end?
Oh. I'm sorry. Oh, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, we're gonna do the other side. Okay, all right. Say your next. Okay, I'll stand on this side right over here. We're gonna have her first and then you.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Hello, I'm Ty. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for talking with me. I appreciate it. So the only thing I'll ask in the interview is that you'll look at me and not the camera. Other than that, that's about it. Try to take.
They're getting everything, but it's not what makes people really function. Honestly.
Is there a key moment or key issue that came up tonight that really jumped out at you?
There's some other issues. I just think our country. I think our country. The embarrassment. I think we are very embarrassing right now, and I don't think we are safe at all. I think our country is very vulnerable, and I think people know that it's a joke that we're safe and that everything right is that it's a joke.
Thank you so much for your time, ma'am. What is your name? Last name?
Can you tell me where you're from?
Yes, so I'm from Latino. I'm actually political science student at the State University right now.
So the debate just ended. Kind of give me your first thoughts after watching it.
Well, I guess I'd like to say a little more about Biden at the beginning. I was kind of curious how everything was kind of going, how he was stuttering, and just seeing kind of like how he was acting as well. I would say that by the end of it, he generally did amped up a little more. And a few kind of concerns about not being able to answer the questions on Trump's side. I would say it's also kind of concerning, but mostly just seeing how Biden was acting today, seeing how that would kind of play as well with his age. I think a lot of people are curious about that as well. So I think from both sides, just Trump's not really answering the questions, and Biden's age would be the biggest concerns for today's debate.
Totally welcome not to answer this. Are you willing to say kind of where your vote is leaning towards Biden or Trump?
I would say Biden for sure. Of course, there's still a couple things that I would kind of have concerns about, but between both of them, would definitely be Biden.
So you talked about, Biden's, he did stumble, but got a little better, more comfortable towards the end, it felt like. Any memorable moments for Trump, good or bad?
Like I said before, I would definitely say not answering his questions. Of course, if there's questions, you would really like to see the answers to them. And kind of going back to the topic of immigration was kind of the biggest thing that he was doing the entire time. So I know that a lot of people from his party would kind of want to hear mostly about immigration, mostly with Biden's open border policies as well, open border policies, and their stance on that. For sure, though, just not answering the questions as well and just trying to attack on immigration was kind of what he was doing the entire time. So I don't think there was much background giving on his values or what he was standing on certain things. So I think that would be my biggest concern when it comes to Trump.
So speaking on that, you mentioned it a little bit, but we did have, there was no live audience. They cut the mics. What was your thought on that, and kind of good or bad?
I would say that it kind of genuinely helped Trump, since we do kind of know that he's what you kind of say leads to certain times when it comes to debates. So him getting muted, his mic muted, I would say that kind of helped him. I think that was kind of the way to go, because oftentimes in debates they don't really stay in topic. A lot of times it's just wasted going back and forth. I mean, we saw that when it came to the golfing. There's really no reason for them to have been debating or having an argument over golfing when it's a political debate over the presidency. So I would say that was generally smart from CNN to have muted the mics and not let them speak up and changing the camera as well.
Awesome. What did you think about not watching it, not only just watching it, but getting to watch it, with a lot of people at a watch party, with very different, sometimes political views? How did that play into it?
Well, we are here a lot of Latinos. I would say that a lot of us more lean on the democratic side of things. However, it's kind of refreshing to see how many people are still kind of really have a huge value on presidential elections and just elections overall. We do see that there's a number of people that actually voting go down every year. And while people a lot of times focus on national and presidential debates, local and state government debate elections are just as important, if not more important, actually, mostly because of the way things run for the elections as well. We don't really run on a popular vote, of course, so it's kind of refreshing to see that there's still people that really do have a huge importance on political debates and just really trying to get new sources coming from the people that are actually running, rather than just reading it online, where a lot of times can be changed. So it's really important for people to still see those things live, because you really cannot change or misword what they're saying if they're saying it live. So I do say that it's very important for people to do that. So it was really refreshing to see that people still like to look at that, for sure.
Very interesting. I think this is my last question for you. I think, maybe a lot of people know the John F. Kennedy and Nixon debate. It's very famous. Do you think this one will live up to being remembered in the historical record, or like most presidential debates kind of just fade into a bygone thing?
I think it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I mean, with the way that things were running first for Biden, how he was stuttering, how he was kind of losing his train of thought, I would say, I can see the comparisons from the Nixon debate and JFK debate. I think a lot of people know that JFK ran and he won because he was more young, and if people know the background of that debate, they kind of like do some makeup for JFK as well to look better on camera. So I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, honestly, because how people kind of act on camera, how they look is very important, and I think that kind of did bad for Biden at the beginning. He, like I said, he did amp up a little bit more by the end. I would say it's generally I wouldn't say as big as the Nixon and JFK debate, but I would say it's very interesting to see how they can kind of be put hand in hand, and kind of you can see how actually what happened with JFK's side could actually be reflected back to Biden and Trump's debate as well. So definitely an interesting debate, probably just not lived up to JFK's and Nixon's debate for sure, though.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you
so much.
That was great. I'll just give you 1 second. Yeah. Give me like 1 minute. I've got a little bit of a gear issue.
Once everyone quieted down, it was great.
In the debate itself, what were your thoughts on how it went?
Oh boy. Well, I think it's really hard for any reasonable human being to watch that and know that Mr. Biden is fit to be our president. I mean, I have dealt with people that have dementia before, and it's very obvious just from the look on his face, not understanding what's going on, the surprise and shock look sometimes, the eyes, the very stiff face, the very stiff hands, they're all very, very prominent signs of what's going on. And I feel bad for him as a human being, quite frankly. And I also feel the people that have put him in the position that he is in are not very nice people. It's almost like elder abuse.
And then President Trump's performance, how would you describe it, or what were your thoughts on it?
I loved watching his face sometimes. He was just like, I thought he did really well. There were obviously, when you're looking at it, you're just like, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you say that? But I think he did very well. I mean, he is a man that is full of emotion and loves to express himself. And I think he did a really good job at kind of restraining back and listening to what Mr. Biden had to say and trying to counteract the lies that were coming out of Mr. Biden as much as he could.
Yeah, was this a different President Trump that you've seen before on the debate stage or, in public?
Well, yeah, he was very much more restrained on this because, there was no audience for him to feed off of, obviously. And but I thought they did really well. I mean, they knew that the mics would be cut at their time. I mean, how many times did the moderator say, well, you have 82 seconds left or 64 seconds left? So, no, I think he conducted himself really well.
Was there a key moment or key moments that really jump out at you as being important in what happened tonight?
I think I was more, not to use the word shock would be wrong, but to say Mr. Biden his performance is so handicapped by what's going on in his physical and mental health. It's very disheartening. It's very disheartening to see that happening to anybody. My mother-in-law went through that, and yet to see him forced into that public kind of spotlight only to be put on display, the nature of that disease, I just think to me, it's shocking that people would put him in that position.
Last one for you. Do you think any voters' minds were changed tonight?
That's an interesting question because I was talking to someone earlier and he said he had talked to a dozen Democrats that he knew, friends, and they're all like, yeah, we're not watching that. And so I don't know if any voters got changed because I don't know if any Democrats really watched it because they kind of already suspect or know what's going on. And so they don't want to see it again firsthand. And so maybe some independents watched it. And then again, his dementia was on full display. So I don't know if it did or not, or maybe it was just all Trump people that watched it and were shouting in their living rooms going, yay, yay, yay.
Thanks, Roseanne. That was great.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time. And thanks for letting me come by tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. You have a great night.
Okay.
Democratic Joe Biden campaign spinner here because they know it was the worst, most pathetic performance, and it was just an abysmal loss. His polls, which were already catastrophically low, they're going to even go lower.
Congresswoman, have you spoken with Donald Trump about potentially being?
I don't get into any of my conversations. I get asked this all the time. I'm honored to be here as a surrogate. I'm honored to serve as the House Republican
I feel very confident that he is going to make the right decision, and he's going to announce it on his timeline. We're very excited about that.
I do feel that there was a candidate that was much better at addressing the questions that were being asked. And to me, that weighs more in my perspective when it comes to picking for a candidate when it comes to voting, right? If they're being sincere, they have straightforward policies, and they know what they want to do, that's great. If someone's just talking in absolutes but doesn't have anything to pinpoint to, I'm going to be concerned.
Would you be willing to share which one you thought did better?
I think President Biden did a lot better than President Trump did in terms of answering the questions and talking about the policies.
There you go.
What do you make of the White House saying that he had a
So I guess it was I really felt sorry.
No, I didn't see coming. I was just
that was all of my questions. Is there anything else you think you should tell me about that I haven't asked?
It was good to watch this debate. I really liked that the mics were muted. And so I'm glad that it was handled the way it was and there was follow-up questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Appreciate it.
Ty, Abby Pacheco.
Nice to meet you.
Cognizant of what's going on and express themselves very well. I think it has a lot more to do with his physical condition.
Do you think that he'll show up for the second debate?
Gathering, so they're all lined up. They're all lined up together. Excellent. You're doing great, guys. You're doing great. I'm gonna move back just a little bit.
Thank you.
No, yo sé. One second.
Thank you for talking with me. I appreciate it.
Ty.
Yes. So first question. Yes, thank you. First question is just could you tell me your first name, your last name, and then spell it for me?
Yes. Gabby Pacheco. GABY-PACHECO.
And where are you from?
I'm from Miami, Florida.
And what's your relation to LULAC?
So I have been participating in different LULAC conferences, convention, and I also run a nonprofit organization that supports streamers.
So tell me a little bit about what got you involved with streamers.
So I'm a former dreamer. I came to the United States as an 8-year-old, and for 30 years, I was in a limbo status. I was actually able to benefit from the DACA program, and eventually, through a marriage petition, was able to get a green card. And just last year, I was able to become a United States citizen.
So this will be the first presidential election you're voting in, correct?
That's right.
Is that outside of politics? Is that exciting to be able to get your voice heard about these issues?
It's beyond exciting. I have been waiting for this moment my whole entire life. I believed and have known to be an American my whole entire time, living in this country. And when I learned about my immigration status, it was a real big shock. And I have been fighting really, really hard to be allowed and to belong into this country. And so now voting has been something that I know wasn't a given once upon a time. And for women and people of color, being able to vote, I feel it's beyond our responsibility. It's what we have to do because people fought for us, and also because it's our democracy.
So I think maybe the most talked about discussion tonight was immigration. Can I get your thoughts on what you heard? Any standout moments for you?
Yeah, it really angered me because the issue of immigration is an issue that is a serious one that we have to tackle as a country, one that we have not brought forth policy that modernizes our immigration system. And there is some huge problems in our immigration system. There are individuals who are like my family, like myself, here without status and don't have a way to regularize themselves. We do have a border that needs to be modernized, that there is issues there. And yet everything that I heard tonight was reduced specifically from Trump to fear-mongering. And when the question was not around immigration was brought in. When there was time that they was asked a question around deportations and undocumented people, there was no answer. And so I just feel like immigration gets used all the time by our political system as a way to strike or stoke the fear in everyday Americans who I understand where some of that fear comes, and this fear is nothing new for us. We had the know-nothings who went into a building and stole bricks, and the reason why we have a two-tone Washington Monument is because the construction of the Washington Monument stopped because there was this fear against immigrants from Catholic countries. And so it's something that is just so sad to me as an immigrant, as a Latina, and as a United States citizen, as a person that loves this country, that somebody like me gets used for political gain.
So didn't the president do a great job? Yes! I can't thank you all enough for staying and for being here and for all your support. Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question.
And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why? Yes. So, Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you because we have such a great group of supporters here. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. You've been here the whole time. I see it. I see that through the Pat's here. Look, folks, you know, I shouldn't say this, but my brother always uses lines from movies. There was a famous movie by John Wayne, and he's working for the Northern military, trying to get the Apaches back in the They were lying like hell to him. They're all sitting on a bluff. And John Wayne was sitting with two Indian, they were Apaches, and one of them looked at John Wayne and said, "These guys are nothing but lying, dog-faced pony soldiers." Except he's just a liar. Look, folks, what's going to happen over the next couple of days is they're going to be out there fact-checking all the things he said. I can't think of one thing he said that was true. No, I'm not being facetious. But look, we're going to beat this guy. We need to beat this guy. And I need you in order to beat him. You're the people I'm running for. Here. He says he's going to be the retribution for his supporters. You are the reason why America's as good as we are. We're the finest nation in the whole damn world. No one's close. Nobody's close. So let's keep going. See you at the next one. God love you all. Heading to North Carolina. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to go home with you. Thank you.
This ain't Texas, no hold'em. Here are cards down, down, down.
By these applause, or human beings by nature, right? We're creatures of community, and so being able to just hear the individuals speak, and both President Biden and President Trump speak without getting all that fanfare and the egging on type of thing, I just feel it was much better format, and that even though in our little audience we had some of that, it just doesn't influence, it doesn't propel them to act one way or another. They really can just focus on trying to answer the questions.
I apologize. Did I ask? I apologize if I asked this. I'm going to ask it again. Me. If you're willing, would you share? Are you looking to vote for Biden or Trump?
Oh, hands down, I'm going to vote for President Biden. Again, I'm going to take a very good look at not just that, right? Like they're senators, they're legislators, and so it's not that I feel I'm going to be voting just for Democrats. Like I'm voting for my values. I'm voting for my family. I'm voting for the community that I work with and I represent. And at that level, for the presidential, I am definitely going to vote for President Biden.
So there wasn't a time where we thought we might not have a debate between the presidential candidates. Do you think it was worth it overall to get to see them on stage together?
It was really hard to watch this. It was cringeworthy. I was upset. I had to pause and close my eyes at times just because of how the hate and vitriol and fear mongering that I was hearing from Trump. And as an immigrant, as a Latina, as somebody that has had to fight, I walked from Miami to Washington, D.C. to prove myself the love that I have for this country. It just hurts. It feels insulting, and it hurts that somebody like me is getting used to create fear, not just for white people, but for Black people, the pinpointing against the Black community, against immigrants, the whole thing about crime and losing jobs and all this stuff was just hurtful overall.
That was all of my questions, and I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Is there anything else that maybe I didn't ask that I should have, or anything else you'd like to share before I let you go?
So I want to tell everybody that no matter if you're going to vote for Trump, which I wish people didn't, right? I think this is too important. As somebody who fought for that opportunity to vote, who worked really, really hard to become a U.S. citizen, my message is go vote. Please, use your voice. It's really important for people to be involved, and this is our democracy. This is our country, and so I'm going to vote for Biden. But if anybody of my friends, family, whoever votes for somebody else, that's okay with me. At least you voted.
Thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
You got
Love
it.
listening.
Take your time.
Yeah, nobody wants to come out there and talk about it. You got my right. There you go.
They expected to lose 20 or 30 seats in the House because Joe Biden did such a drain on the ticket. Moreover, Joe Biden didn't articulate any clear message. I think the thing that Joe Biden got most exercised about tonight was his golf game. Not the fact that Americans are being killed by illegal immigrants, not the fact that prices are rising, inflation is crushing the American household. President Trump has solutions for these problems, and it's why his demonstration of the solutions, I think, showcased the most impressive debate performance in American history. Yep.
Congressman Gates, yeah. How did Trump perform tonight? Do you feel like Biden is able to recuperate from after the effects of this debate?
After this debate, I think we're going to have to identify Joe Biden by his dental records, because it was a bludgeoning. Like, Joe Biden couldn't articulate a border message, an economic message. He could barely get through his own name. It was a waterfall of words, and the American people deserve an energetic president, someone with boldness and vision and a real plan. Trump showed his plan on taxes, on regulatory reform, on the border, and on trade. Trade deals that will ensure the American worker is able to advance. I think that right now there is deep and wide panic in the Democratic Party over the state of their nominee, and for good reason. Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Is that right?
Todos los temas. They are very concerned about pretty cool.
Yeah, not surprised.
Bien, campeón. Bien. This is a criminal with the obsessed. He's not supervising for the White House. He's running from the jailhouse. Right behind you, Senator. Senator. The president focused on
Rafael Warren, senador federal por Georgia. Es que no te quiero amarrar con
It was Chuck.
I don't.
هذا المبادرة للخضوع لاختبار إذا كان تعاطى المنشطات أم لا، ولكن حتى يعني أيضا ترامب هو يصبر بايدن فقط بأعوام قليلة يعني، ولكن يعني حتى اللحظة بطبيعة الحال يجب أن ننتظر قليلا لنعرف ردود الأفعال. كان هناك بعض التخوف من أداء بايدن. ترامب بدأ أكثر حنكة، حتى وإن كان ترامب بايدن هو لديه هذا كان أكثر، ولكن استطاع ترامب في هذا الخطاب بشكل كبير في قضايا هذا يمر هو بطبيعة الحال بداية حتى وإن كان
Representing us for this election.
Joe Biden failed it. Donald Trump passed with flying colors. President Trump
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
Do you think the people in Georgia? I do, and I certainly I'll come away knowing that Donald Trump is the true winner and the leader.
And how do you feel about your new position right now? How are you doing? Any plans looking to November?
Well, I'm honored to be here. We're working hard. We're raising a lot of money. We're making sure we have a free, fair, and transparent election, and I think that's vital to the future of the country.
What did you think of his performance?
What did you make of that? I just have to do a live video.
Senator.
What do you think of it?
I did actually. Oh, wow. Okay. I did actually apply to go to your show.
I'm sorry.
Who would you want to see appointed in your Senate seat if you were faced with me?
Americans.
You gonna wait till she's finished, or?
Hey, I couldn't hear, but I got close to the Democrats. Arrow was there, but he couldn't hear, so. Yeah, I just saw. But wanted to see where you're at. Do you feel like you want to continue rescheduling, or the one window we have is 11:30.
Okay, and I got.
Do you feel like you have a good 2 minutes? Yeah. Oh, there he is. Up here.
Also, all the cameras were ran.
We're not going to get it. He went out that way.
Always do.
Is he gonna come out?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, back.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, I think that definitely highlights.
Well, actually, let me go back. We named the you're waiting for men, how they get it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's mainly debate. We can't really get to the spin because spin room is an interesting dynamic for sure. Yeah, and Democrats. Yeah, so I think that has to be a separate. I like how that area is. We'll objectively film them all and then try to see which ones we feel the most sure about for like the quick 60-second version. So, Let me have someone there, but the best way for me to do this, I think, switch it out. Record it on the same feed. That's right now we've got a lot of standard gates. I got the I really wanted to see they had some really you get them on film. It's so confusing. I'll make sure that
And I got it.
yeah, definitely use it at some point.
And I have him direct the chat things I asked him.
Yeah, let me know where that
He knows you.
I'm sure that it's going to be live.
No, we have to go back and behind. Unfortunately. Yeah, there's one person finishing up their hit right now, so we can get up there, practice. It's gonna go to the TAPM. This is for next year back down to get more Republican reaction, I guess.
Fabulous.
So yeah, go this way around. So unfortunately on the way. So. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I heard that my very telling that he's not here. But then that's also
It's right here, sir. It's right here.
Hey. Wanting to respond to things and maybe look at straight right at that moment, but he always came back or to the next question.
Well, it's so interesting that the party that has accused Republicans of being threats to democracy for 4 years is now trying to pull Joe Biden from the ballot for effectively doing what has been obvious to everybody for 4 years. That the guy truly isn't up for the job. So my attitude is Democrats are stubborn.
He's really good. I'm worried that they're not doing this. No one uses trend. Direct to them paddles. It's going to be tough to pull that up unless I run to my computer.
That's a wrap. There it is. Yeah.
So, US, what's the main channel you guys are talking in? Excuse me.
Thank you so much. I'll see you in the.
You guys still free right now? Plug and play.
So hold on. You want our live view or yours?
I can just literally give him mine, and he can stay connected.
Why don't you do yours? Yours right?
Yeah.
I can